The damn place smelled like old paper and industrial cleaner. Amara flexed her claws absently against her thigh, flattening the fur there as she eyed the peeling paint and flickering fluorescence overhead. Somewhere down the hall, a child's cough echoed, wet and rattling. Christ. Even the air asterisk felt cheap here. She adjusted the strap of her worn satchel, diploma inside, freshly printed and already warping from Lycan humidity, and rapped her knuckles against the accounting office door. The wood groaned under her touch like it might splinter. A beat of silence. Then, come in. The voice was male, exhausted. Amara shoved the door open with her shoulder and stepped inside, her tail twitching once at the sudden rush of stale cigarette smoke and lukewarm coffee. The desk lamp flickered as Micheal finally looked up from the ledger he'd been hunched over for hours. His glasses sat askew on his nose, one lens smudged with fingerprints. The Lycan woman standing in his doorway was, unexpected. Taller than him by half a head, fur so white it nearly glowed under the sickly yellow light. You my new assistant? His voice came out rougher than intended, too many nights breathing paper dust and nicotine. He didn't bother standing. The application printout crumpled under his elbow as he shifted. Didn't say you were Lycan. A pause. His shoulders lifted in a shrug that didn't quite reach his eyes. Doesn't matter. With a grunt, he spun his chair toward the disaster zone behind him. Receipts spilled from bankers' boxes. Tax forms fluttered like dying moths where they'd been tacked to the wall with pushpins. Micheal grabbed the nearest stack, a teetering tower of unpaid invoices, and thrust them toward her without looking. See what you can do with these. His chin jerked toward a narrow door barely visible behind a leaning tower of filing cabinets. Your office is a former closet, because it was. Through there, a beat, he rubbed at his temple. Toilets across the corridor, by the way. The invoices hit Amara's palm with the weight of bad decisions. She flexed her claws around the stack, just enough to crease the edges without tearing, and shouldered through the narrow door. The hinges screamed. Inside, the air tasted like mildew and graphite. A single bulb buzzed above a desk that had likely been scavenged from a high school dumpster. Its surface bore the carved initials of bored teenagers and a coffee ring older than she was. The laptop wheezed to life with a sound like grinding gears. Amara dragged a pencil across the first invoice, numbers bleeding through cheap paper, and smirked at the way the chair groaned under her weight. Her ears twitched at the muffled sound of Micheal coughing down the hall. She could smell his exhaustion through the drywall. The pencil snapped between her fingers. Right, work. 2 days of furious clawing at paperwork had dragged Micheal's office from outright catastrophe to merely disastrous. Receipts now lived in labeled folders. Invoices had been wrestled into submission. The trash bin hadn't overflowed in hours. Micheal was hunched over his desk, digging through a takeout container of congealed lo mein, when the door burst open without knocking. Miss Hannigan's heels clicked across the linoleum like gunfire. The scent of her rose-scented hairspray hit Amara's nose before the woman even cleared the threshold. You call this an improvement? Hannigan flicked a manicured finger at a stray post-it, still clinging to the wall. Her lips twisted into something between a sneer and a frown. I never should have allowed you an assistant. Micheal didn't blink, didn't straighten, just swiped a noodle off his chin with the back of his hand. Hannigan's nostrils flared. I'm coming back next Friday, Mr. Wallace. Her glare swept across the room, lingering on Amara's claws, on the deep scratch marks now decorating the former closet door frame. And when I do, I expect to see results. The door slammed behind her with enough force to rattle the filing cabinets. Micheal waited 3 heartbeats. Then, into his cold lo mein. You expect miracles on a shoestring budget, you stupid cow. Amara's ears twitched. She exhaled through her nose, slow, and deliberately dragged her claws down the side of her desk. The sound split the air like a knife through silk. Micheal didn't look up. Yeah, me too. The walk home smelled of asphalt and rain-slick weeds pushing through sidewalk cracks. Amara flexed her claws against the straps of her satchel, barely heavier now than when she'd arrived at that crumbling office. $53.12. That's what Hannigan deemed appropriate compensation for 2 days of salvaging Wallace, accounting from its own entropy. Her tail flicked against the garage apartment's rusted staircase as she shouldered the door open. The single bulb dangling from exposed wiring buzzed like a dying insect. She kicked off her satchel, the thud against particle board flooring echoed through the space, and dragged her palm across the shower unit's cracked hose. Ice-cold water pattered against the drain. The cot groaned under her weight. Amara stretched, her fur flattening against the thin canvas as she stared at the water-stained ceiling. Somewhere below, a car engine sputtered to life. Headlights painted the wall in brief, jagged stripes before fading. Her ears twitched at the distant wail of sirens. Tomorrow's problem. The dream clung to her fur like static. Micheal's fingers brushing receipts aside to reveal the calculator beneath. Sunlight catching the silver strands at his temples, his throat bobbing when she leaned in close enough to smell the coffee on his breath. Amara woke with her claws embedded in the cot's canvas, her chest heaving. She peeled her fingers free one by one, shaking out the tremors. Dawn painted the thrift store's cracked window in weak gold. The nightstand was solid oak beneath decades of varnish, its single drawer gliding smooth when she tested it with her thumb. The cashier, a human teenager with chipped nail polish, flinched when Amara's claws scraped the counter during payment. Groceries fit in the satchel's expanded belly, rice, eggs, a dented can of tuna. The rent office swallowed her remaining bills whole, the clerk's stamp coming down with finality. Amara licked the taste of cheap envelopes from her teeth as she climbed the stairs. The nightstand wobbled under her palm when she set it beside the cot. Functional, temporary, like everything else. The divorce papers still smelled like Maggie's perfume, something floral and expensive that clung to the back of his throat even now. Micheal crumpled the Starbucks napkin in his fist, third missed call this morning, and tossed it toward the trash bin. It bounced off the rim. Of course. His fingers hesitated over the calculator. The dream had left his sheets tangled, his mouth dry. Amara's fur catching the moonlight as she straddled his hips, her claws skating down his chest. Christ. He scrubbed a hand over his face hard enough to blur his vision. The ledger in front of him swam. 3 years since the divorce. 3 years of takeout containers and silence. The office door creaked. Micheal didn't look up, just ground his molars until his jaw ached. Numbers, focus on the fucking numbers. The office hovered in that precarious state between disaster and functionality, like a junk drawer that had been hastily rearranged before guests arrived. Amara dragged a claw along the edge of the latest invoice stack, counting the faint tremors in the paper. 5 out of 10. Maybe 6, if she factored in Micheal's half-hearted attempt to wipe down the coffee machine yesterday. Her ears flicked toward the rhythmic tap of his calculator keys. Too fast. Aggressive. The same tempo he'd been hammering at since Monday, when she'd caught him staring at the way her fur caught the fluorescent light before he jerked his gaze away like he'd been burned. The filing cabinet groaned as she leaned against it, watching the tension roll off Micheal's shoulders in waves. He hadn't shaved today. Stubble shadowed his jaw, and his collar was rumpled where he'd clearly yanked it straight a dozen times without success. Amara exhaled through her nose and deliberately scraped her claws against the metal drawer. The sound made his shoulders hitch, just a fraction before he buried himself deeper in the ledger. 2 days until Hannigan's inspection. 2 days of this. The next stack of invoices barely had time to hit his desk before the pounding started. 3 sharp raps, the kind that made the hinges rattle, followed by a voice that still tightened his chest after 3 years. Micheal, open this door. His pen froze mid-signature. The ink bled through the paper. Amara's ears swiveled toward the noise, her claws flexing against the file cabinet door. Micheal exhaled through his nose, leaning back until his chair groaned. Maggie, he said, like the name itself was a headache. He didn't look at Amara, just rubbed his thumb over the smudged ink. My ex, been dodging her calls for weeks. The door shuddered under another blow. I asterisk no asterisk you're in there. Micheal's jaw worked. He could feel Amara's gaze like sunlight through frosted glass, warm, waiting. His fingers twitched toward the lock before curling into a fist against his knee. She wants the alimony early, he muttered. Again. The door handle snapped off in Amara's grip before she could twist it. Metal shrieked. Maggie's next knock faltered mid-strike, just long enough for Amara to shoulder the door open with enough force to crack the frame. The woman on the threshold smelled like department store perfume and pretension. Silk blouse. Patent leather heels sharp enough to stab a man with. Amara's tail lashed once, her claws sinking into the wood grain as she loomed over Maggie's startled recoil. Listen here, you overdressed vulture, Amara growled, her breath stirring the limp curls framing Maggie's face. Hannigan hasn't coughed up our pay yet. Want your alimony? She bared her teeth in something too sharp to be a smile. Go peck at her asterisk carcass. Maggie's mouth opened, closed. Her heels clicked backwards twice before she spun on one stiletto and stormed down the hall, her purse clutched to her chest like a shield. Amara slammed the door. The hinges whimpered. She found Micheal staring at his ledger like it could swallow him whole. The pen in his grip had snapped, leaking blue ink across his knuckles. Amara dragged a claw through the mess on his desk, clearing space to lean against it. How many? She asked. Micheal's throat worked. 1. His voice cracked. James, he's a rough swallow. 7 next month. The grief hit Amara like a fist to the sternum. She could smell the salt in Micheal's lashes before he blinked it away. Her claws flexed against the desk. Tomorrow, she'd fix the door. Tonight. Amara reached across the space between them and plucked the broken pen from Micheal's fingers. Tell me about him, she said, and pretended not to notice the way his breath stuttered. The ledger blurred. Micheal swiped his thumb across his cheekbone, too fast, too rough, before dragging his chair closer to the desk. His fingers found a stray post-it, crumpled from weeks of neglect. He plays forward on his rec team, Micheal said, voice scraping like gravel in his throat. Kid's got a mean left foot. Maggie wanted him in hockey skates before he could tie his shoes. The ghost of a smile touched his lips as he smoothed the post-it against the wood. Caught him reading asterisk Frankenstein asterisk under the covers with a flashlight last summer, said the monster reminded him of, his breath hitched. Of me, after the divorce. Micheal's knuckles whitened around the pen cap. Started teaching himself guitar from YouTube. Plays this one god-awful Green Day riff over and over. The laugh that escaped him was raw at the edges. 3 weeks straight, Maggie texted me complaints about the noise. Kid's got sheets taped to his wall full of Sophie Henderson's class schedule, knows her bus route, her lunch period. His shoulders slumped. Couldn't even tease him about it. I was worse at his age. The warmth pooling in Amara's chest felt dangerously close to affection. She traced a claw along the edge of the desk, blunt side first, listening to the way Micheal's voice softened around syllables of James. Lycan cubs would have had their claws filed for such rebellion. Her own adolescence flashed behind her eyelids. Midnight hunts supervised by elders, bedding inspected for contraband sweets. The sting of willow switches across her palms when she dared sneak into the human village. Yet she'd seen the way her mother's fingers trembled while braiding ceremonial beads into Amara's fur before her first blood moon. How her father pretended not to notice when she stole jerky from his smoking shed. Maggie's perfume still clung to the office air, cloying and false. Amara's tail lashed once. That woman would gut her own cub for a bigger alimony check. Micheal's thumbnail split the post-it into uneven halves. Amara reached across the space between them and tapped one claw against the paper. He'll grow out of the stalking phase, she said. Her ears twitched at the memory of tailing some village boy for 3 weeks before realizing human courtship didn't involve leaving rabbit carcasses on doorsteps. Might not grow out of the terrible music, though. The corner of Micheal's mouth twitched. Amara pretended not to notice. The footsteps were wrong, light, skipping in that erratic way only children manage. Micheal's pen froze mid-column when the door burst open before he could react. small sneakers squeaked against linoleum, and suddenly his arms were full of wiry limbs and strawberry-scented shampoo. James clung to his neck with the desperate strength of a kid who'd waited too long. His backpack, covered in dinosaur stickers, thumped against Micheal's ribs. Coach said I could leave early cause. I scored *3 goals. The words vibrated against Micheal's collarbone. Mom's super mad at some lady named Hannigan in the car, so I ran ahead. Micheal's gaze snapped to the doorway, where Maggie stood gripping her designer handbag like a weapon. Her lipstick was smeared from furious phone calls. Amara's claws flexed against the filing cabinet behind him, silent, assessing. James pulled back just enough to peer at Amara over Micheal's shoulder. His nose wrinkled. "Why's there a wolf lady in your closet?" Micheal exhaled through his nose, smoothing James' wild curls away from his forehead before setting him down gently. He could feel Amara's amused gaze burning into his back. "That wolf lady is called Amara," he said, nudging James toward her with a hand on his shoulder. The tension in the boy's frame eased slightly. "She works for me. Don't worry, she's only mean to people who deserve it." Micheal didn't flinch when Maggie's heel tapped an impatient rhythm in the doorway. Amara's tail gave a single, satisfied flick behind him. James blinked up at Amara, his dinosaur backpack slipping down one arm. Slowly, so slowly, he extended his hand toward her, palm up. "Hello," he said, in that painfully earnest way only kids manage. "I'm James." Amara's claws retracted with an audible click as she took his small hand in hers. Her grip was feather-light. "I'm Amara," she said, and for once her voice didn't growl. "Nice to meet you." James chewed his lip for a second before blurting, "My classmate Rick says Lycans eat kids. Is that true?" Micheal's stomach dropped. "James." The boy winced but didn't back down, staring up at Amara with wide, unflinching eyes. Amara snorted, a sound like gravel in a tin can, and crouched until she was eye level with James. "No, cub," she said, her claw tapping the tip of his nose lightly. "That only happens in fairy tales. And to accountants who don't pay their bills." James giggled. Maggie's grip on her handbag tightened audibly. James' fingers were sticky with ketchup by the third bite. Amara watched the boy practically vibrate with excitement as Mr. D, a grizzled old-timer with a grease-stained apron, leaned over his cart to ruffle James' hair. "Extra onions for my best customer," Mr. D said, winking as he slid another hot dog into James' waiting hands. The scent of charred meat and caramelized onions clung to Amara's fur as she counted out exact change. James bounced on his toes, his dinosaur backpack swinging wildly. "Dad never lets me have two." His whisper was loud enough to startle pigeons off the nearby fire escape. Amara's claws clicked against the cart's weathered countertop. She could still hear Maggie's shrill voice cutting through the office walls. James' grin faltered for half a second, just long enough for Amara to nudge his shoulder with her elbow. "Eat fast," she murmured, "before your mother realizes we're bribing you with street meat." The boy's laughter echoed down the alleyway as he took off at a sprint, hot dog held aloft like a trophy. The Fiat store groaned like a dying animal when Micheal yanked it shut. He exhaled through his nose as James scrambled into the passenger seatbelt already clicking before the boy's backpack hit the floorboards. The rearview mirror showed Amara still standing by the hot dog cart, her white fur catching the late afternoon light like fresh snow. James waved with both hands, ketchup smeared across his cheek. "Bye, Miss Amara. Don't let Mom make you eat vegetables." Micheal's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. The argument with Maggie had left his temples pounding, something about inappropriate influences, and that creature. But James' laughter smoothed the edges of his headache like fingers through fur. The engine coughed twice before shuddering to life. He didn't look back as they pulled onto the street. Didn't need to. The scent of charred onions and lichen musk clung to James' sleeves, stubborn as a promise. the envelope crinkled under her claws, thicker than last week's. Amara thumbed through the bills twice before tucking them into her satchel's inner pocket. The walk home smelled of impending frost and fried dough from the corner vendor. Her breath fogged between her fangs as she passed the thrift store's boarded-up window. The nightstand stood straight now, its wobble corrected by a sliver of folded cardboard wedged beneath one leg. She tested the drawer again, smooth, rolling on its new wheels, before sliding it beneath the cot. The stolen library copy of *Frankenstein* lay spine up beside her pillow, its pages already dog-eared at chapter 5. The shower's heating unit hummed to life with a click and a hiss. Amara let the water scald her shoulders until her fur lay flat again. Steam curled around her claws as she portioned rice into dented cookware. Downstairs, the landlord whistled off-key through the floorboards. Amara exhaled through her nose and cracked the novel's spine. Temporary, but warmer. The paperback's spine cracked when Amara tossed it onto the cleared shelf beside her desk. Frankenstein's final pages had lingered behind her eyelids all weekend. That frantic chase across the Arctic, the monster's final vow to burn himself alive. She scraped her claws against fresh invoices, savoring the crispness of Monday morning paper. Through the half-open door, Micheal's calculator clattered to the floor. Her ears swiveled toward the sound before she could stop them. He'd shaved. The silver at his temples caught the fluorescence differently now, sharper. His shoulders didn't hunch so much as lean like a tree finally remembering sunlight after years of storm. James' dinosaur stickers still clung to the underside of Micheal's desk. Amara watched his thumb brush one absently while sorting tax forms, temporary, but warmer. Hannigan's heels clicked down the hallway at precisely 2:17 p.m. The scent of her rose-scented hairspray preceded her by 30 seconds, just long enough for Amara to slip the last stray post-it into its labeled folder. Micheal didn't look up from his ledger when the door swung open. Hannigan's manicured fingers twitched at her sides as her gaze swept the office. The trash bin sat empty. The coffee machine gleamed. Even the filing cabinet stood aligned like soldiers at attention. Her lips parted, closed. Amara's claws tapped once against the freshly polished desk. The sound echoed. Hannigan exhaled through her nose, sharp, and turned on one stiletto without a word. The door clicked shut behind her with uncharacteristic softness. Micheal's pen hovered mid-column. James' dinosaur sticker winked from beneath the desk. Somewhere beyond the thin walls, Hannigan's car door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Amara's tail gave one satisfied flick. The diner's neon sign flickered outside the window, 3 letters eternally dying. Micheal swirled the last ice cube in his glass while Amara demolished her 3rd stack of pancakes. Syrup glistened on her claws. The orphanage loomed across the street, its brick facade swallowing the sunset whole. Micheal's thumb traced the water ring left by his glass. "Used to volunteer there," he said, quieter than the clatter of silverware. "Before the divorce." The admission hung between them like smoke. Amara's ears twitched toward the sound of children shouting in the courtyard. She didn't ask why he stopped coming. Didn't need to. Her paw closed over his wrist just for a heartbeat before returning to her plate. Warmth lingered where her fur had brushed his skin. The waitress cleared their plates with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Somewhere between the check arriving and Amara's laugh at his terrible joke about accountants, Micheal realized he'd leaned in too close. Her breath smelled like maple and something wilder beneath. The kiss happened like a decimal point slipping into place, inevitable, precise. Amara's snout bumped his chin before their mouths aligned. Her claws hovered near his shoulders, careful even now. Micheal pulled back first. His pulse thundered in his ears louder than the orphanage's pickup basketball game. Amara's pupils were blown wide, her tail stiff behind her. The neon sign buzzed. Someone dropped a tray in the kitchen. Micheal exhaled through his nose and reached for her paw. "So," he said, voice rough as the diner's coffee, "that happened." Static roared between her ears, the same white noise as a television left on after midnight. Amara's claws dug into the vinyl seat when she stood, syrup-sticky paws fumbling for her satchel. Every follicle of fur stood at attention. The words tasted like burnt pancakes. Her tail lashed against the diner booth hard enough to rattle the salt shaker. I should go. The sidewalk blurred beneath her. Neon signs smeared into wet streaks of color. Her apartment door whined protest as she shouldered through it, caught Springs screaming when she faceplanted into the mattress. The pillow smelled like his shampoo, Christ. When had she stolen that habit? Amara rolled onto her back, forearm pressed over her eyes. Resignation letter. First thing Monday, before she did something stupid, like kiss him again. Her phone buzzed. James' dinosaur emoji blinked up at her. Amara groaned and sank her teeth into the pillow. The resignation letter bore 2 parallel scratches where Amara's claws had hesitated. Micheal's throat tightened. He knew that mark, the same shallow groove she left on coffee mugs when lost in thought. Outside, autumn wind rattled the fire escape. His keys hit the floor with a jangle. The stairwell lights flickered as he took the steps 2 at a time, elbow scraping brickwork on the final turn. The bus hissed at the curb, doors gaping. Amara's duffel strap dug into her shoulder fur, tail rigid as a flagpole. Micheal skidded to a halt beside her, pavement grit spraying his loafers. His breath came in ragged bursts. "You," the bus doors groaned shut behind her. "You can't quit." Amara's ears flattened. The 215 pulled away in a cloud of exhaust, taking her planned escape route with it. The resignation letter trembled in her grip. Amara's claws punched clean through the paper when she gestured toward the bus receding down the street. "Don't you get it?" Her growl rasped like sandpaper, too loud for the sidewalk, too raw for daylight. Hannigan licks Maggie's boots. One whiff of this. Her tail lashed toward Micheal's still-parted lips. "They'll revoke your visitation so fast James won't even." Her breath hitched. The words tasted like bile. 7 years old. 7 years old and already counting weekends like pennies in a jar. Amara's claws flexed. She shouldered past him one purposeful stride before spinning back. Her muzzle collided with his cheekbone first, then his mouth. The kiss burned hotter than the diner's griddle. She wrenched away with a sound halfway between a snarl and a whimper. Her duffel strap snapped under the force of her grip. "Got him it," she breathed against his collarbone, fur standing on end. "Got him it, asterisk." The duffel strap snapped like a gunshot between them. Micheal's hands found Amara's shoulders, not pushing, just solid as the pavement beneath them. Her fur stood on end beneath his palms. "Marry me, Amara." The words tumbled out raw, unpolished. No accountant's precision here. Just the truth, laid bare between bus fumes and her choked-off growl. "I." His thumb brushed the notch where her collarbone met fur, warm, alive. "I love you, asterisk." The confession hung there, fragile as Hannigan's patience, stubborn as James' ketchup stains. Somewhere down the block, a car backfired. Amara's claws flexed against his ribcage, blunt enough not to pierce fabric. Micheal didn't flinch. The words stuck behind her fangs, lodged sideways like chicken bones. Amara exhaled through her nose, her breath fanning warm across Micheal's stubble. Her claws flexed against his ribs, blunt edges catching the weave of his dress shirt. "I love you too." The confession came out half-growled, as if ripped from some deep-buried place beneath muscle and marrow. She kissed him again, harder this time, and tasted coffee and the ghost of diner syrup. His gasp vibrated against her snout. Her brain registered the exact moment she was doomed. "Yes." Amara muttered against his mouth, tail lashing against his thigh. "I'll marry you." She bared her teeth in something too sharp to be a smile, but if Maggie even thinks about showing up, her claws tapped his sternum once, twice. "I'm eating her." The bus stop bench creaked under their combined weight when she pulled him down onto it. Somewhere, James' orphanage loomed. Somewhere, Hannigan's phone buzzed with unread messages. Amara licked the salt from Micheal's lower lip and decided, fuck temporary. The courthouse smelled like lemon cleaner and ink. Amara's claws clicked against the marble floor. No shoes, no veil, just the worn leather collar Micheal had fastened that morning with hands steadier than his voice. James swung between them, dinosaur sneakers scuffing every third step, his grip tight on their joined hands. The efficient blinked at Amara's muzzle when she growled her vows, then shrugged and pronounced them married. James whooped loud enough to startle pigeons off the roof. Hannigan's termination letter arrived via courier at 9:03 a.m. Thursday. Amara used it to light the stove while Micheal packed his last coffee mug. By Friday, Maggie's smug smile curdled when the sheriff arrived to enforce Micheal's eviction, only to find the house empty save for dust bunnies and a single dinosaur sticker left on one of the kitchen cabinets. Amara's apartment absorbed Micheal's meager belongings like a wolf accepting a stray pup into its den. His books crowded her shelf. His spices cluttered her counter. James' crayon drawings bloomed across her walls like wildflowers. Saturday dawned with Micheal's nose buried in Amara's neck fur, her tail draped possessively over his hip. Neither mentioned the eviction notice crumpled in the trash. Temporary had officially overstayed its welcome. The office smelled different, less mildew, more wolf musk. Chloe inhaled deeply as she adjusted the strap of her oversized satchel, her boots silent on the freshly buffed linoleum. A single dinosaur sticker clung stubbornly to the baseboard beside Micheal's desk. "Good morning," she chirped, setting down a steaming-to-go cup with meticulous precision. The sleeve read asterisk Mr. Ditikas' famous chili dogs asterisk in her uncle's looping handwriting. "Extra cream, 2 sugars, just how you." Her gaze caught on the framed photo beside his monitor. Micheal's arm around a grinning James, Amara's snout resting atop the boy's head like a living hood. Chloe blinked. "Like it?" Her fingers twitched toward the keyboard. "Hannigan wants Q3 reports by noon," she added, already pulling up spreadsheets. "Also, Mom says you're invited to Sunday dinner. Uncle Oscar's making his infamous jalapeno relish." The folders landed on Chloe's desk with a satisfying asterisk thump asterisk. Micheal leaned against the filing cabinet, the ghost of Amara's toothy grin still warming the corners of his mouth. "You must be Chloe," he said, nodding toward the chili dog cup. "Nice to meet you." Q3's already in the final review, should be done before Hannigan starts sharpening her claws. His fingers lingered on the drawer handle, knuckles brushing the dinosaur sticker James had planted there last week. "Tell your mom we'll both be there. Amara'll bring the appetizers." A pause. "Probably meat-based." The Q4 files hissed against each other as he slid them toward Chloe. "Start on these." Hannigan usually circles back for Q4 updates exactly. He mimicked a ticking clock with his fingers. 7 days after getting her Q3 pound of flesh. "Asterisk will do, boss." Asterisk, the words curled out with a crisp nod as Chloe's fingers, already moving, flipped open the first folder. The edge of her sleeve caught the sunlight just so when she reached for her mechanical pencil, the graphite tip hovering above column G like a hummingbird considering nectar. She inhaled the scent of fresh paper and chili grease lingering on her fingertips. Asterisk 7 days. Asterisk Hannigan's predictable cruelty almost made her smile. Almost. The spreadsheet bloomed beneath her keystrokes, formulas nesting like birds in spring. Somewhere beyond the closet wall, James' dinosaur sticker watched over her work like a tiny prehistoric guardian. A sock tangled between Amara's claws as she kicked it toward the growing laundry volcano in the corner. The room smelled like Wolf, accountant, and the ghost of James' bubblegum toothpaste. She was mid-snarl at a particularly stubborn ketchup stain on Michael's dress shirt when the knock came, 3 precise raps that rattled the loose hinge. Amara wrenched the door open with enough force to make the knob dent the drywall. Oscar stood at the landing's crest, his apron dusted with chili powder and a Tupperware container balanced on one meaty forearm. The stairwell light caught the silver in his beard. "Mr. D?" Her ears flicked backward, tail brushing against a half-assembled crib. Asterisk Christ, when had they bought that? Asterisk. He grinned, shifting his weight to avoid stepping on a rogue dinosaur crayon. Please, call me Oscar. His boot nudged a stray action figure aside. May I come in? Of course, she said as she stepped aside, allowing him to enter. The Tupperware container hit the counter with a dull asterisk thunk asterisk. Amara's claws flexed against the laminate as Oscar wiped chili grease onto his apron. His grin widened when her ears twitched toward the garage's faint rumble below, some poor bastard's transmission getting acquainted with Tyler's wrench. So, Oscar said, digging a toothpick from his pocket, how'd you like a job? Amara's frown deepened. Oscar. The toothpick danced between his fingers. Garage you live above belongs to my nephew Tyler. He jerked his chin toward the vibrating floorboards. Kid's got hands like a surgeon with engines, but his paperwork? Oscar whistled low. Haven't seen numbers that fucked since Reagan was in office. Her tail stilled. Downstairs, something metallic clattered to the concrete. Oscar leaned in. One audit, he murmured, tapping the Tupperware lid, and his whole operation's roadkill. His boot nudged a stray invoice peeking from beneath the couch, Tyler's haphazard scrawl bleeding through the paper. Fix his books, and suddenly, his grin turned wolfish. He can't justify charging you rent anymore. Amara's claws unsheathed halfway. 2 seconds. That's all it took for her nostrils to flare with the scent of opportunity, oil-stained and sweet as stolen victory. Deal, she growled, snatching the container. The lid popped off with one twist of her paw. Chili fumes wafted up between them, thick enough to taste. Oscar's laugh shook the loose light fixture. A taggerl. The storeroom reeked of mildew and gasoline. Amara's claws sank into a moldering cardboard box labeled *TAX Receipts 2018 *, her muzzle wrinkling at the avalanche of crumpled invoices spilling onto the concrete floor. Tyler's filing system consisted of tossing paperwork toward the general vicinity of stacked oil drums, most missed. One paw braced against the wall as she knelt, her tail flicking aside a rogue lug nut. The buzzing fluorescence reflected off a sticky puddle of what smelled like transmission fluid, mixed with stale energy drinks. James would love this place. A grin split her muzzle as she grabbed the nearest Sharpie and began labeling boxes with ruthless precision. Temporary had left the building. The Friday afternoon sun slanted across Chloe's keyboard, catching the faint sheen of lemon cleaner still lingering on her spacebar. Hannigan's heels had clicked away 15 minutes prior, precisely 6 seconds after her latest inspection. Yielded nothing more incriminating than a single paperclip out of alignment. *2 for 2. Chloe allowed herself a small exhale through her nose as her fingers danced across the numpad. The Q4 spreadsheet snapped into place with a final asterisk control plus S asterisk, its cells pristine as a military bunk bed. She reached for her tea, cold now, just as the office door creaked open again. Amara's shadow stretched across the carpet, her claws glinting where they gripped a grease-stained paper bag. The scent of chili dogs and wolf musk rolled in with her. Hannigan. Amara's ears flicked toward the empty hallway. Chloe nodded once, her ponytail bouncing. Gone, again. Her thumb brushed the dinosaur sticker on the filing cabinet, James' latest edition. She'll be back Monday. Amara's tail gave a satisfied flick. Let her. The door swung open with 4 coffees precariously balanced between Michael's fingers and elbows. 2 black, one with cream swirling like a tiny galaxy, and the last sporting a suspiciously familiar dinosaur sticker slapped over the barista's handwriting. Chloe's ponytail snapped toward him like a compass finding north. Amara didn't turn. Her claws drummed Hannigan's desk calendar with rhythmic precision, denting every Friday for the next 6 months. Ladies. The cups hit Chloe's blotter with a synchronized asterisk clunk asterisk. The dinosaur-adorned one sloshed ominously. I give this swill 2 stars, 1 for temperature, 1 for not actually killing me last Thursday. His thumb hooked toward the diner across the street, its neon pancake sign flickering through rain-streaked glass. Who's up for actual food? The diner's vinyl booth creaked under Amara's weight as she slid in, her tail curling around Michael's thigh like a living seatbelt. Rain-streaked windows turned the neon pancake sign into a melting watercolor, Dotty's all-nighter asterisk in bleeding pink and blue. James' knees bounced beneath the table, his dinosaur sneakers kicking the underside with metronomic precision. Chloe's fingertips traced the menu's grease stains with forensic interest. They put relish in the pancake batter here, she murmured, tapping a line item titled Asterisk Uncle Oscar's Revenge Asterisk. Allegedly by accident in '89. Somewhere behind the counter, a grill hissed. The scent of burnt butter and wolf fur tangled in the air-conditioned draft. 5 minutes stretched thin between the salt shaker's slow migration across the table and the waitress's cracked voice calling asterisk, order up asterisk, into the kitchen's fluorescent mouth. James' birthday cake left blue frosting in the creases of Amara's paw pads for days. The apartment still smelled of burnt candles and dinosaur-shaped confetti when Maggie's lawyer arrived, black briefcase, blacker smile, with boarding school brochures fanned across the coffee table like a poker hand. Asterisk St. Ignatius Preparatory asterisk embossed in gold. Asterisk Switzerland asterisk. Asterisk Maine asterisk. Each one slid toward Micheal with a whisper of expensive paper. Amara's claws sank into the armrest. Temporary wasn't supposed to end like this. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mrs. Weatherby feels. Micheal's fist came down on the brochures hard enough to make the Tupperware lid jump. Frosting smeared across asterisk Rhode Island asterisk S coastline. The airport tiles were the color of frozen milk. James' reflection wobbled in them as Maggie steered him toward security, her manicured nails sinking into his shoulder like talons. His dinosaur backpack hung limp, straps dragging against the linoleum. Amara's howl had rattled the courthouse windows 3 hours prior. Micheal's knuckles were still split from where they'd met the lawyer's desk. None of it mattered. The boarding school brochure gleamed in James' pocket, its embossed letters pressing sharp against his thigh through the fabric. Somewhere over the Atlantic, turbulence made the plane shudder. James pressed his forehead to the cold oval window and watched America shrink until it vanished beneath the clouds. Maggie's new penthouse, keys jingled in her purse before the wheels even retracted. The closet office smelled of drywall dust and the ghost of Hannigan's perfume. Chloe's pacing wore a path in the thin carpet, her boots whispering against concrete with each turn. James' dinosaur sticker, peeling at one corner, watched from the filing cabinet. Asterisk, good kid. Asterisk, her fingers curled around the landline receiver hard enough to make the plastic groan. Maggie's boarding school brochures still haunted her peripheral vision. Asterisk Switzerland asterisk, embossed in gold like some goddamn trophy. The notepad crackled when she flipped it open. Amara's claw marks scored the paper beside asterisk mom and dad asterisk, the ink smudged from what smelled like motor oil and chili grease. Chloe's thumb hovered over the rotary dial. Oh, hell! The numbers clicked into place with decisive precision. Somewhere in the White Fang territory, a phone began to ring. The invoice in Amara's paw disintegrated into confetti as her claws flexed. Asterisk 1983. Asterisk the numbers swam before her eyes. Gas at 90 cents a gallon, labor at $12 an hour, when her father's howl shook the rafters. Steel shelves rattled. A loose spark plug rolled off a workbench. She emerged from the storeroom blinking against garage fluorescence, the stench of 30-year-old receipts clinging to her fur. Her father's massive frame dominated the oil-stained concrete, his hackles raised so high they brushed the dangling shop light. Tyler cowered behind a hydraulic lift, wrench frozen midair. That cow, her father snarled, shipped our grand cub to asterisk Switzerland asterisk. A paw the size of a dinner plate slammed onto a stack of untouched invoices. And you didn't asterisk call us asterisk? Amara's ears flattened. The missing 1997 W-2s fluttered to the floor like wounded birds. Behind her, Tyler mouthed asterisk oh shit asterisk at the growing pile of shredded paperwork. The spreadsheet blurred into indistinct columns as another urgent email notification popped up. Third one this hour from Maggie's lawyer. Micheal's fingers hovered over the keyboard, the cursor blinking accusingly where he'd stalled mid-formula. Then the doorframe shook under 3 thunderous knocks that sent his coffee mug skittering across the desk. Asterisk Micheal? Asterisk. The voice was all gravel and shotgun shells, undeniably Lycan, but with a timbre that vibrated his molars. The chair legs screeched against hardwood as he stood. His stomach plummeted past the basement, through the foundations, and kept going. The door burst inward before he reached it. Mama Whitefang filled the doorway like a force of nature, her silver-streaked hackles raised high enough to brush the ceiling. One massive paw clutched a mayonnaise jar like a grenade, the lid already half twisted off. "If you don't have a asterisk damn asterisk good explanation," she growled, nostrils flaring with the scent of his fear, "for why my grandcub's boarding a plane to Geneva." The jar lifted, gloopy white menace glinting under the hallway light. "You'll be wearing this like cologne." The office door exploded inward before Hannigan's knuckles could make contact a second time. Splinters rained across the carpet as Mama Whitefang's shoulder lowered, the doorknob embedded in the drywall behind her like a trophy. Hannigan's clipboard clattered to the floor, her mouth frozen mid-snarl. Micheal's coffee cup trembled in its own spill. "Miss Hannigan," he rasped, "meet Amara's mother." The Lycan matriarch's growl vibrated the framed certificates on the wall. Hannigan took an instinctive step back, her heel crushing James' forgotten dinosaur sticker. Asterisk perfect. Asterisk. Micheal exhaled through his nose. "Divorce settlement," he said, fingers splaying across the desk where Maggie's lawyer had left nail marks in the varnish. "Primary caregiver clause." The words tasted like battery acid. "Every cent I have goes to keeping James in sneakers and school supplies." His thumb jabbed toward the boarding school brochure peeking from Hannigan's tote. "Legal fight. Can't afford the parking at family court." Mama Whitefang's ear twitched. The mayonnaise jar lowered an inch. Hannigan's eyes darted between them. "This is highly." Asterisk irrelevant asterisk, Mama Whitefang finished, her muzzle wrinkling as she caught Hannigan's scent. The jar lid twisted shut with a decisive asterisk pop asterisk. Her claws flexed. "That Maggie bitch took our blood." The closet door creaked open just enough for one green eye to peer out, catching the fluorescent glare off Mama Whitefang's bared canines. Chloe's fingernails dug into the doorframe as she swallowed hard, asterisk not asterisk the time for her usual cheerful greeting. Micheal's glare pinned her like a butterfly to corkboard. "You called her, didn't you?" Her smile flickered like a faulty neon sign, fingers instinctively smoothing her skirt despite knowing full well the Lycan matriarch wouldn't care about wrinkles. Asterisk focus on the breathing exercises James taught you. Asterisk too late. Mama Whitefang's nostrils flared toward the closet, catching her scent. Chloe's spine met the wall as the door swung fully open under one massive paw. "Aye, that is," her voice cracked. The dinosaur sticker on her laptop screen suddenly seemed very asterisk interesting. The cook's spatula trembled over the grill when Mama Whitefang shouldered through the diner door, her bulk wedging the frame open just long enough for Micheal and Chloe to slip through before it slammed shut with finality. The closed sign swung madly. Amara's father occupied an entire booth by himself, his claws methodically shredding a napkin into confetti. The scent of wolf musk and jalapenos clung to the vinyl seats. Behind the counter, the cook made a sound like a deflating balloon when Mama Whitefang tossed her mayonnaise jar onto the table with an asterisk thunk asterisk that rattled the salt shakers. Chloe's knees bumped against Micheal's under the table, her fingers twitching toward the laminated menu like it might offer divine intervention. The cook's reflection in the grease-streaked mirror caught her eye. He was already dialing his wife with one hand and reaching for the fire extinguisher with the other. Amara's tail thumped against the booth. "So," her claws tapped the mayonnaise jar, "who's drawing first blood?" The cook fainted. The diner's jukebox chose that exact moment to spit out Knight Rider's theme song, a warbling synth line that made Devon Miles' business card vibrate across the laminate tabletop. Chloe snatched it mid-slide, her fingers brushing the embossed lettering. Miles and Associates, Orphanage Division *. Amara's father snorted through his nose. Miss Victoria Miles, he rumbled, claws shredding another napkin, had posters of that damn talking car in her office. Mama Whitefang's ears flattened. The mayonnaise jar sweated condensation onto the table. Her boy drew blood. Micheal's thumb tapped the card's edge where Devon's signature looped with litigious flourish. Drew, bled, and salted the earth. His coffee swirled with the ghost of a smirk. Maggie's lawyer cried unconscionable 3 times in chambers. Court reporter put it in the transcript as unhinged . Somewhere behind the counter, the cook's snoring stuttered. Amara's claws unsheathed with a sound like 5 switchblades clicking open. Good, she purred. The jukebox hit the chorus. Chloe tucked the card into her sleeve like a smuggled ace. He invoiced her for the tears. The courthouse steps still reeked of Maggie's Chanel No. 5 when the bailiff slid custody papers across the bench, thick as a phone book and twice as satisfying. The judge's gavel left a dent in the wood where she'd brought it down with enough force to make Maggie's pearls rattle. Primary caregiver. The words gleamed like fresh claw marks in the legal text. Terminated visitation pending psychiatric evaluation. Mama Whitefang's howl rattled the courtroom windows as Maggie's lawyer fumbled his briefcase shut. By sundown, Maggie's penthouse keys had been traded for a one-way Greyhound ticket to Nevada. The bus depot smelled of diesel and defeat when she boarded, her reflection warped in the grimy window as it pulled away. James' dinosaur sneakers hit the apartment's linoleum with a smack on Wednesday morning, his backpack bursting with crayons and unmatched socks. Amara's tail swept a stack of textbooks off the coffee table to make room for his sleeping bag. The fridge hummed under Mama Whitefang's chili jars, each one labeled Grand Cub Fuel in Sharpie. Amara's paw lingered in the air long after her parents' pickup truck vanished around the corner, its tailpipe coughing chili-scented exhaust into the autumn air. The garage keys dug into her palm. Tyler's disastrous paperwork awaited like a financial horror show. Her ears twitched at the distant squeal of school bus brakes. James' laughter still hung in the apartment's walls between crayon scribbles and discarded dinosaur socks. She kicked a stray spark plug across the parking lot. The apartment wasn't built for 3, not with Micheal's spreadsheets colonizing the kitchen table and James' art projects metastasizing across every flat surface. Her claws flexed. That storage room above the garage reeked of motor oil and poor life choices, but the square footage. A crowbar materialized in her grip. The lease agreement was somewhere under Tyler's 1997 tax returns. Time to negotiate with grease stains. The storeroom door groaned under Zara's grip, hinges protesting as she shouldered into a landscape of financial ruin. Receipts fluttered like panicked birds from disturbed stacks, landing atop oil-stained invoices that dated back to before she'd learned to bench press a minivan. Her nostrils flared at the mingled stench of transmission fluid and administrative failure. Hello, her voice bounced off dented filing cabinets. A W-4 form from 1998 drifted past her sneaker. Orc bouncer lady who? She paused to pluck a sticky note reading taxes, off her forearm. Knows nothing about paperwork here too? Her boot crunched on a calculator. The display flickered 0.00 like a dying plea. Something moved in the paper avalanche. Amara's tail went rigid mid-swipe as Zara's shadow eclipsed the storeroom's single bulb. Grease-streaked receipts slid from her grip. 1999 Q3, oil change specials fluttering to the concrete like dying moths. Tyler's morning mumble about reinforcements took on horrifying clarity as the orc's shoulders brushed both doorframe edges simultaneously, Her claws flexed instinctively. 300 pounds of pure muscle stood between her and the 2001 tax returns. The crowbar in her other paw suddenly felt like a toothpick. Tyler. Amara growled at the ceiling where her cousin's footsteps had retreated 20 minutes prior. You cowardly little. A W-2 from the Clinton administration stuck to Zara's sneaker as she stepped forward. Amara's ears flattened. Asterisk weeks. Asterisk, this would take asterisk weeks. Asterisk. Zara blinked down at the paperwork graveyard, then at her own biceps, easily wider than Amara's thighs, before offering a tentative smile that made her left tusk glint. So, she rumbled, cracking her knuckles with a sound like snapping timber, we burning this or sorting it? The spark plug in Amara's pocket grew warm. The spark plug in Amara's pocket had long since cooled by the time the last filing cabinet clicked shut. 2 months of sorting, shredding, and strategic arson had transformed the storeroom from financial purgatory into something resembling order, receipts filed by decade, tax returns bound in color-coded folders, and a single ceremonial bonfire of Tyler's redundant fast food coupons still smoking in the parking lot. Zara's biceps gleamed under fluorescent lights as she hefted the final box labeled asterisk, actually important asterisk, onto shelving reinforced with rebar. The remaining floor space yawned wide enough for a proper desk, and more. Amara's claws tapped blueprints stolen from Tyler's office. The concrete bore fresh marks where they'd measured twice. Storage racks along the north wall, a makeshift accounting desk by the window, and her tail flicked toward the cleared corner, asterisk enough room for James' dinosaur sleeping bag when the apartment got too crowded. Asterisk. Zara dusted her palms on Jim pants permanently stained with toner. Next time, she grunted, nudging a perfectly aligned row of chilly expense receipts, tell your cousin paperwork fights dirtier than bar brawlers. Amara grinned. The spark plug found its slot in the newly organized toolbox with a satisfying asterisk click asterisk. System, name equals Chloe. The ceramic mug clicked against Michael's desk with practiced precision, steam curling around the dinosaur sticker plastered to its side. Chloe's fingertips lingered for a heartbeat, just long enough to feel the warmth seep through, before she pivoted toward her alcove. Hannigan's heels asterisk click-clacked asterisk a frenetic tempo down the hallway, each step sharper than the last. Asterisk 2 months. Asterisk. Chloe's lips twitched as she settled into her chair, the springs sighing under her weight. Maintenance paperwork stacked itself in obedient rows across her monitor, each folder labeled with the kind of crisp efficiency that made Hannigan's eye twitch. The office door slammed. She didn't glance up. Not when Hannigan's perfume, something aggressively floral, lingered like a chemical threat. Not when the woman's breath hitched at the sight of asterisk, nothing asterisk out of place. Chloe hummed along with the printer's steady asterisk were asterisk, her fingers dancing across the keyboard. Hannigan's shadow darkened her desk for exactly 4.3 seconds before retreating with a strangled growl. The dinosaur sticker winked at her from the filing cabinet. User. The closet door creaked open precisely 2.7 seconds after Hannigan's stilettos faded down the stairwell. Micheal's stubble scraped against freshly pasted wallpaper. Palms braced against faux beach views where Devon's legal team had salvaged rolls of asterisk ocean, breeze asterisk from some forgotten office renovation. The thrift store lamp cast warm circles over Chloe's workstation, its refurbished LED bulb illuminating upgraded RAM sticks protruding from her laptop like cybernetic dorsal fins. 2 empty Mountain Dew cans testified to last night's upgrade session, each one crushed with military precision. Andrews. His whisper coincided with the printer spitting out Q3 reports in triplicate. 97 minutes till closing. The Sahara poster rippled as he leaned in, the desert mirage almost convincing enough to taste the pizza grease. Unless. His fingers flicked a pineapple-shaped USB drive onto her keyboard. Asterisk Hawaiian partition. Asterisk, you've developed sudden anti-pineapple sentiments. The dinosaur mug steamed between them. System, Name equals Chloe. The booth's vinyl creaked under my weight as I nudged the last spreadsheet into alignment, fingertips brushing the condensation on my glass of iced tea. Amara's claws tapped excitedly against the blueprint, her fur practically vibrating as she traced the dotted demolition line between her room and the garage. Micheal's forehead did that adorable crinkle thing while he calculated load-bearing ratios on a napkin. Zara's elbow nearly knocked over the ketchup bottle when she reached for her 5th chili burger. "Knock down the wall Wednesday," she mumbled around a mouthful of jalapenos. "Throw up drywall by Friday." Her biceps flexed as she mimed swinging a sledgehammer, making the salt shakers tremble. Micheal's pen froze mid-calculation. His eyes met Amara's, that silent conversation married people have where entire paragraphs get conveyed in a blink. The corner of his mouth twitched upward. Amara's tail thumped against the seat. "Sleeping bags in the storeroom by Saturday." My straw made a happy asterisk clink asterisk against the glass. James' first date, and a home expansion in the same afternoon. The dinosaur sticker on my phone case glowed under the diner lights like a tiny victory beacon. The shower curtain rippled like a ship's sail in a storm when Amara's tail accidentally snagged it on day 3. The plastic rings, scattering across tiles, still damp from James' epic bubble bath. By week's end, the entire apartment smelled of sawdust and ambition, with Zara's biceps serving as an impromptu load-bearing column when the kitchen wall proved unexpectedly stubborn. Micheal's spreadsheet addiction migrated to a salvaged banker's desk in the corner, its surface pockmarked with coffee rings that formed a perfect moat around James' crayon fortress. The boys' new bedroom walls bloomed with dinosaur murals courtesy of Amara's claws, each stroke leaving grooves that caught the afternoon light like fossilized joy. The living room couch arrived via Zara's gym buddy, hauling it up 6 flights in exchange for Mama Whitefang's chili recipe. Its sagging middle cradled Micheal's spine at precisely the wrong angle during movie nights, a flaw James exploited by popcorn bombing his father's lap during every jump scare. On moving day eve, Amara pressed her forehead to the freshly patched drywall and inhaled sawdust, chili grease, and beneath it all home. The apartment door clicked shut behind me with unfamiliar quiet, no crayon avalanche from James' backpack, no Zara grumbling about pantyhose strangling her tree trunk thighs. Just the hum of the fridge and Micheal's socked feet propped on the coffee table, his spreadsheet reflected in glasses that desperately needed cleaning. I sniffed. 3 distinct takeout containers huddled in the kitchen sink like abandoned spacecraft. No chili scent meant Mama hadn't staged another grocery intervention. My claws clicked across linoleum still bearing James' fossilized syrup spill from breakfast. Sophie's mom texted. Michael didn't glance up from his laptop. They went mini-golfing after the movie. His finger tapped a cell with date TAX deductible, scrawled in the margin. A neon golf ball sticker smirked at me from his screen. I draped myself over the couch back, muzzle brushing his ear. His pulse jumped when my claws plucked the glasses off his face. "So," I purred, licking a stray pizza sauce stain from his collar, "we burning your shoes or sorting your sock drawer first?" The spreadsheet cells blurred together as my tail flicked the laptop shut. The laptop lid snapped shut mid-formula with a click that echoed through the apartment, suddenly too quiet without James' dinosaur documentaries blaring in the background. My fingers tangled in Amara's fur as she purred against my collarbone, her claws gently scraping through my shirt. The spreadsheet could wait. Her breath hitched when my lips found that spot behind her ear, the one that made her tail flick like a metronome set to allegro. Pizza sauce and lichen musk flooded my senses as her paws dragged me backward onto the couch, its springs groaning in protest beneath our combined weight. The bedroom doorframe splintered when Amara's hips hit it mid-stumble, Michael's belt buckle already lying defeated in the hallway beside her abandoned sports bra. Moonlight caught the arc of his undershirt sailing toward the laundry hamper, missing spectacularly as her claws raked down his back with possessive precision. The mattress groaned beneath them, springs singing a familiar chorus as Amara's fangs found his shoulder, not breaking skin, but close enough to make his breath stutter. No words, none needed. Her growl vibrated through his ribcage when he rolled them, answering with teeth at her throat and hands mapping the topography of scars and fur she wouldn't explain until years later. By dawn, the sheets were shredded beyond recognition, and Micheal's glasses sat crookedly on the nightstand, lenses fogged beyond repair. Amara's tail thumped lazily against the headboard where she'd left claw marks in the veneer, her muzzle buried in the hollow of his throat as sunlight painted stripes across their tangled limbs. The signs appeared precisely 32 days later, and subtlety had never been Lycan biology's strong suit. Amara's morning shower ritual, usually a symphony of steaming water and off-key humming, stilled when the loofah snagged on unfamiliar topography beneath her fur. Moonlight through the bathroom window caught the anomaly, two new peaks rising just below her ribcage, their dusky pink stark against white fur still damp from the spray. Amara's claws hovered, tracing the swell with clinical precision. Asterisk right on schedule. Asterisk. James' toothbrush rattled in its cup when she snorted. No need for awkward announcements when her species came with built-in billboards. The kid would figure it out by breakfast, probably before Micheal, given how the man could miss a fire alarm during tax season. Her tail flicked droplets across the mirror as she stepped out, pausing to admire the way her reflection's silhouette had already softened. 4 breasts now, soon enough 6. The bedroom door creaked open to reveal Micheal mid-yawn, his glasses askew as he groped for the alarm clock. Amara sauntered past him, deliberately backlit by the hallway bulb, and relished the way his squint sharpened into wide-eyed comprehension when the light caught her altered silhouette. No words, just a slow, smug tail wag as she padded toward the kitchen where James' cereal bowl waited. The spoon clattered from his grip when she leaned over to pour orange juice, his gasp louder than the fridge motor. "Cool," the boy breathed, cereal forgotten as he pointed at her midsection. "You're like a dinosaur, extra everything." The spoon clattered into James' cereal bowl as Amara's laughter rumbled through the kitchen, a sound that made the fridge magnets tremble. Sunlight caught the new curves beneath her fur, casting elongated shadows across the linoleum like a living bar graph. Asterisk tomorrow. Asterisk. Her claws absently traced the swell as she watched James attempt to balance 3 Cheerios on his nose. The kid's grin stretched wider than her paws when the third one stuck. Michael's coffee mug hovered halfway to his lips, his eyebrows doing that slow-motion ascent she loved. No grand announcement needed, not when her body came with its own flashing neon sign. Mama would sniff it out within seconds anyway, probably before Amara finished dialing. Her tail swept toast crumbs into a neat pile as James whispered, "Asterisk so cool asterisk," to her midsection. The future stretched before them, messy and bright as the crayon mural on his bedroom wall. Amara licked milk off the boy's forehead. However many pups came next, they'd fit, even if it meant converting the broom closet. The end.